Symbolic sounds are common in anime, and for video games they're a staple of the early NES game consoles. I find it a fascinating sound design method as it has the potential to emphasize storytelling with sounds that aren't trying to be realistic but instead tell the story. Like a thunderclap for the finishing blow and a fight to underline the end. Here are some examples from anime shows. There's a great interview on designing sound with Tomoya Kishi on the subject, and I've added a link in the description. For this mix and jam Batman battle system, I wanted to try it out as I felt like it fit with the design of the game. In this case, the fight sounds are divided between a base impact punch sound, a set of random symbolic sounds, and a final over-the-top symbolic sound to underline the end of the fight. To simplify the implementation, I've used a random approach apart from the last sound, but this could be elaborated to follow the narrative much closer, and you could for instance have a symbolic sound play after a specific number of enemies have been defeated, or indicate an enemy of a certain strength, so the player can adopt a tactic of maybe leaving that enemy to later or focus immediately on them. And here's how the implementation can sound. For this implementation, we'll be using an observation pattern, meaning we'll have one central script that triggers the audio and a subject script that calls out for the triggers. The subject script is unaware of the process of how to trigger the sound from the middleware, meaning that it's decoupled from the observer script. This is useful if we want to change our setup, for instance use one-to-one shots instead of events, or change our sound system completely without needing to alter the calling scripts. The subject script uses the system namespace for the action delegated that allows us to subscribe and unsubscribe to the various calls. You can think about it as a radio station. It simply plays the messages and whoever is turned in, it will receive them. In this case, the audio observer script. In the subject script, we're setting the action delegates and a public method that we can call from other scripts or animation events. Note that in this case I'm also passing a parameter to fmod, but that isn't necessary if you just want to trigger an action. In the observer script we subscribe to these events, and in the reciprocating method we'll add our sound triggering code, in my case fmod, but this could be wise or any other audio script. Note that the method names need to match between the two scripts. We'll then subscribe to the audio subject method in the awake and then set the corresponding observer method. Finally, we'll reference the audio subject script in the combat script so we can call the methods where we want to. Here I'm setting the punch sound to when the player hits the enemy, but later we'll use the animation events also. From the mix and jam session, we'll mostly use the combat script, although I'm setting a bool from the enemy script to control the sound when the player character is rapidly charging an enemy. For the fighting sequences, we'll simply use the animations and the hit event. For the swooshes that start before the impact sound, we need to create our own events and time them to the sounds. Because the animations are shared with the enemy prefabs, we need to add the method in both the combat and the enemy scripts. Note that you can trigger the animations from the animator to check this and also parameter values you're sending to the middleware. The animation names are not shared with the animator parameter names, so it's useful to link the names in your audio setup, in my case Fmod. However, the leap attack sound was trickier to find a solution for, and I tried a few things like setting the start of the sound when the acceleration flow was at 0, but this didn't really work as I liked. I did notice, however, from the video description of the script that the enemy script had a hit variable that triggered when the player character hit the enemy, so by adding the start of the sound to the attack input, we can then use that hit method to stop the sound. We'll set the start of the attack sound when the distance is more than 5. This way the sound will only play when the character leaps towards the enemy and not in close combat. The stopping of the sound is set from the enemy script in the on-player hit method by turning the ball is attacking sound to false. For the final enemy, when the camera zooms in, we'll use the final blow coroutine, and I'm using a bool and an if statement to control what punch event is being set. For the last punch, we're setting this to true in the last hit sound method, and I'm also using an Fmod snapshot to crossfade between the punch and the last punch event in case they trigger directly after each other. Thanks for watching this tutorial, hopefully it was useful, and happy game audio.